Hello and welcome to another series of Soccer Nostalgia, a stroll down memory lane with two of English soccer's top names of the 70s, Mick Channon and Alan Ball. Mick and Alan, what sort of reaction did you get to our last series?
Going around, I mean, you can only ask people and speak to people about it, and they said it was really good. Nostalgia is a great thing, and people said it was a really nice series to see.
Yeah, and Mickey, I know that you had a few stories. Certainly when you went over to Ireland, I think people were telling you how they enjoyed it.
That's right. You must have made a fortune out of that last series. I mean, it was sold in Ireland. I mean, and all the Irish boys were on about it. No, but I think most of all, everyone was saying it was so late at night. I think that was the only problem. But the amount of people that watched it, nevertheless, and the enthusiasm for it, and they said they didn't really. I don't know what they said to Bawley, but they said to me they didn't realise how good football was. But it wasn't. I think it was just the amount of good players that they saw in a short period of time. I think that was the main difference, and exciting football from so many different players. I mean, I think that we got some great footballers and some good football still played at this at this moment in time. But at that time, there seemed to be far more players just played off the top of their head, and as it happened, they did it. And the end result, when you see highlights and nice little bits put together like we had on the show, I mean, it was great. I enjoyed it, watching it again and again,
Yes, our first series was certainly full of great memories, and this one will be as good, if not better.
Played inside for Marsh. Looking around, seeing who he can pick up. Decides to go one in! Oh my goodness, what a goal! Oh, what a tremendous goal by Marsh! Barnes outside him. Donaghy prepared, though, to float it in towards Tommy Booth. Oh, and what a goal by Chewett! What a goal!
Allardyce's throw. Moore's header, Gowling under it. Worthington now from Gowling's header, and Worthington! And what a beautiful Worthington goal!
Yes, plenty of good stuff to come then, and we start with one of the last great heroes. We'll devote this whole first show to a man who both Mick and Alan know very well, Kevin Keegan.
And here's Williams, played in for Channon. A little touch here for Ball. And the cross in once more. Armstrong was right there. Keegan is there. Oh, an amazing goal!
He was a very, very good player. He was an instinctive player. His ability wasn't class, but he manufactured himself to be a very good player. As we go through the games you see him play, you see him from a skinny kid to finish up a real athlete. And at the end, when I played with him at the end of his career and the end of mine, he was a real athlete who'd worked at his game and become a very, very good player. Not great, very, very good player.
Mick?
I think he became a great player. I think he influenced. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he was probably a better player in his last 2 or 3 years than he was all the games that we see at Liverpool. And having said that, he went to Hamburg, and to survive there, he was infectious. He used to. I mean, he had a magnetism that drew people together, which, for me, that's nothing to do with his footballing ability, but players believed in him, and players responded to him, and it definitely happened in Hamburg, and it definitely happened at Newcastle. But I feel when he became a great player, he retired. I think that he could have gone on for another 2 or 3 years, because Bawley will tell you about his fitness. It was unbelievable. And the way he worked at it, he was a great example to any young. It used to drive us mad when we were with England. We'd be sat on the coach, he'd still be out shooting and that, messing around and doing, wasn't he? I mean, he was an absolute nightmare when you were away with England. You'd done your training, you'd done your work, and all he wanted to do was play football. He was totally dedicated. I mean, and he ended up, as far as I'm concerned, a great player. From being, when he first played for Liverpool, I just thought he was an ordinary player in the early days.
Well, that's what I tried to say. He really worked at his game, and to be great at anything, you've got to work. But I don't think he was natural at anything.
No,
but
right.
He worked really, really hard. And when I came back to Southampton to play with him, I had a row with him because he wanted to come back in midfield and mess about and little twists and turns. I said, your strength is you're a pest. Go up there and be a pest. Because he used to drive, as he said, he
I
drive
agree.
people mad. And on the pitch, I said, be a pest. Up there. You get the ball as quick as you can. I can give it to you as quick as you can. Drive them mad up there.
I must
And
agree
that
with
was-
Ball. He used to think he was a midfield player. As far as I'm concerned, he was a great front player. He was a great, you know, he made things happen. He caused problems. You know, he was strong. You know, he was as strong as a lion. He was like Bally says, he caused problems. He made things happen. Even if he wasn't having a great game himself, he was always causing problems.
Well, it's time to see the young Keegan in action then. It's Anfield, of course, August 1971, and Leicester the opposition for Kevin's 5th game in the First Division.
Wind blowing the ball out of the centre side. Now it's right for David Nash. And just right for Lloyd. Away by Smith. Kellard out to Brown. Lindsay going up to Pursuing. Nish. And that was Fern's shot. It's gone in, deflected. Fern's shot deflected off somebody. Completely beating Clements, giving him no chance at all. Goal out of the blue. Bobby Kellard there applauding. So we're off with Liverpool really pegged back after 25 minutes of almost non-stop attack by a very unlucky goal. Lawler to Callaghan. Thompson. Callaghan. Troshak. Lawler. Highway! Ending an identical goal! Absolutely identical goal. Off cross. Lindsay with the throw in. Highway putting it on beautifully for Keegan. And Keegan's just touched it on. And he's got it back, but he doesn't reach Troshak. But that was a lovely move by Liverpool. Samuels, Nish. With keeping it in play, 2 Liverpool players converging on it, Lindsay and Highway. Farrington. Thurn. Samuels. Samuels trying a shot, and what a superb save by Clements. Ray Clements, who's already conceded 7 league goals, which is a total he didn't pass until towards the end of October last season, but still in tremendous form. To take Leicester's second corner. Put away by Smith to Keegan. Keegan always looking to use the ball constructively. Highway to Thompson. And Keegan, who started it with his head, finishes it off with a little bit of shirt pulling. Referee lets play go on. Or does he? No, he's given the free kick. Glover for Leicester. Samuels beats Callaghan and the referee, gets it out to Farrington. Samuels again. Wallace cutting it out for Thompson. And Highway now with all the gallop down the right. Coming infield, Keegan with him, Troshak over on the left. There's Troshak, pulled across hard and cut out by Sjoberg, and just as well too, because Keegan was at the back of the box. Highway collecting the ball for the corner. Toshak, the only man in the 8-yard area. Toshak's head, and in the net for Keegan. What a player this is. David Nish had his leg blocked to kick that off the line, and in came Keegan. But his studs hooked in the net. And that roar as we're back live is to welcome him as he returns to the centre circle. His 5th game in the First Division, his 3rd goal. Then to Liverpool. Kellard. Smith. Sjoberg's clearance. Lloyd. Absolute anguish. There was no danger whatsoever there. Highway can't get around them both. Samuels. Runner going to cut off the pass back to Clements. So Lloyd plays it up the line to Lindsay. Keegan, a rather quieter second half. Highway. Emlyn Hughes transfers right foot, and Toshak's head! What a magnificent goal! Again, it looks as though the chance is wasted, but it comes to Hughes. I reckon that's meant for a shot, but look at the way Toshak throws himself and gets a bullet header that gave Shilton no chance at all. And so now, Liverpool lead by 3 goals to 2.
Well, obviously quite a game for Kevin Keegan, but what sort of player do you think he was in those early days at Liverpool, Alan?
I think he was an infectious person. He loved his football. That was the most important thing about Kevin Keegan, as far as I'm concerned. And knowing him later on, his love of the game made him the player he was.
He seemed to strike up an immediate partnership with John Toshak.
Well, it was little and large, wasn't it? There was one, the lad was good in the air, and Kevin would look for little things in and around the box off Tosh, but if you look at his goal scoring record for Liverpool, the most he ever scored, was 15 in the season. Believe it or believe it not. That's a fact. And he got 33 for Southampton.
Shankly had seen something in him, obviously, that his busyness, it caused problems. I mean, lots of ways like sort of Roger Hunt probably used to do, but in a different sort of way, He would make things happen up front by putting defenders under pressure, and he'd never get, like Bowley said, he was so enthusiastic there, someone shot and the ball had gone the back of the net and he'd gone and picked the ball out. Little things like that. I look for players that want to get on with things. If there's a throw in or a corner, pick it up and take it. And they're players that really are into the game and want things to happen. And in those early days, he was enthusiastic. Shankly had brought him to a good side. Obviously Toshak was great for him, really, because Tosh wasn't that mobile, but he was a big lad. He could win a lot in the air, little flick-ons, knockdowns, and he was the ideal sort of player to go with him.
He was enthusiastic about playing the game, and that's what made him the player he was.
And I tell you what, Paul will probably agree, that what he was above everything was a winner. I tell you, if he lost, he was the worst loser I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
He couldn't bear losing. You know, I mean, all right, none of us like to lose and that. You know, Bowley's probably this. I'd put Bowley in the same category as him. They could, whereas, you know, I was angry for probably a half hour, 20 minutes, but then life goes on. You know, you got to get on with it. But the likes of Kevin, honestly, he was the worst loser I think I've ever come across, probably apart from Bowley. And he's miserable when he loses.
Get used to it lately. But he loved football. And he loved playing the game. And people took to that. And crowds who pay the money to see a person as infectious on a football pitch as he was, they loved that. And he knew that because it was easy for him. It's hard sometimes for people to go out and play football. But to him, it was easy. And it rubbed off on people. You know, when he used to come in training, it was a pleasure for him to come in training because he loved football.
You know, and other people used to follow his example, whereas I used to bloody come in and I used to hate training. It was cold and wet, you know. You know what I mean? But he used to
say the trouble with football, the thing that spoils football is training. He hated it.
Yeah.
But Keegan loved it. I loved it. And I used to say to him, I said, we're here for an hour, do it, and then we can go racing. And he said, all right. That's the way he used to go.
But, you know, I mean,
Let's do it and go home.
Used to make things, you know, he used to make it enjoyable for other people, which was great. And I'm sure that's why he had an awful lot of success later on.
You can see it on when you see him play. He'll get the ball out the net, he'll run, he loved football. Other people playing today and in those days as well, some did it as a job. He would have done it for nothing.
Kevin obviously had a great rapport with the club and the fans at Liverpool, Mick. So why did he need to go to Germany, do you think?
I don't think there's any doubt that he wanted to be the best player in the world. And he believed that he could be then because, he couldn't do any more here. They'd won the FA Cup, they'd won the league 2 or 3 times. I mean, he had done everything and he just felt that now I want to just prove that I can play everywhere else in the world. It's a strange thing. I think that he became in the people in this country became a better player because he went to Germany than whatever he was. Because we didn't see him every week and we didn't hear about him every week. You know, all of a sudden, like, it became we got Kevin Keegan, he's in Germany. You know, and our international football wasn't going that well and what have you. And it was like something that people wanted to hang on to. And Kevin Keegan became a bigger name and you'd get a flash of his goal that he scored in Hamburg, you know, 2 Saturdays ago or something. And all of a sudden, oh, what a great goal that was. Or there go, all of a sudden, Hamburg started to go well. You know, and it was Kevin Keegan was the reason. The first year, Hamburg were ordinary. He was nearly coming back, you know. Mm. He had a nightmare start, and he'll admit it himself when he stuck one on someone after about 4 or 5 games and got sent off. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You know, what I'm trying to say is he became a real big name in this country, and from then on, he had his platform to go on, and then he went on and he was European Footballer of the Year for 2 years on the trot or something, wasn't he?
That's right.
And then and then he came back here, and well, we know what happened then, you know.
Well, after the break, we'll look at Keegan's homecoming. Join us in a couple of minutes.
My brother and I are identical in every way. Except you can take me anywhere.
At Pizza Hut, we've got a great deal for 2 for $5.98. That's just $2.99 each. And you've got a delicious dilemma. We've introduced a new pepperoni feast pizza, smothered with 2 layers of pepperoni. And a new country feast pizza, piled high with onions, tomatoes, mushrooms, green peppers, and sweet corn. And with each medium feast pizza, you can also create your own salad. The only other thing you've got to decide is who you share it with. The great feast deal for 2 for just $2.99 each at Pizza Hut.
Shadow Gig.
The Mega Chat Line.
Shadow Gig.
Call anytime.
0898234567. 0898234567.
Let's talk.
When it's time again to think of something new, lean on pork, lean on British pork.
Well, now, I remember Kevin Keegan's homecoming to this country well, because I was acting as a reporter that day, and I remember going along and all the drama and secrecy. But from a player's point of view, Mick and Alan, what do you remember of that time when he came?
Probably. I mean, I remember it well. I remember I hadn't moved back from Manchester at the time. I was still living in Manchester, and I always remember I had a phone call on the Monday morning. I want you back here today for, 1 o'clock or something. I said, what do you want me back for 1 o'clock for? He said, well, you know. I said, I haven't got a clue. And I didn't have a clue. He thought that I would have learnt through Kevin that. So he said, I'm signing Kevin Keegan, and we got a thing at the Potter's Erin. I said, well, no way am I going to be there. I says, I'm going to Wolverhampton, man on the run's running. He said, well, if you think that's more important, you do that. I said, right. I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I went to Wolverhampton, and Bawley would tell you about the charade that went on down the road.
Same thing. I mean, Laurie rung me. He said, I want you done. But I'd already virtually signed for Blackpool as the manager. And he said to me, I've got somebody to talk to you to try and make you change your mind. I said, Gaffer, I said, I'm not bothered about that. I said, he said, but I'm signing Kevin Keegan. He said, no, I want you the Potter's Erin. I said, what's the fuss about? But that was, all of a sudden, that typifies Kevin for me. That for him to ring like Mick, myself, to say, I want you there for a big, big signing. I mean, he signed him back for Man. He signed me. I mean, there was something about this lad that was big, and it was that type of hype that. And I can remember saying to Laurie, I said, what's the fuss about? Do I have to be there? He said, well, Mick's not. I've rung Mick, but that was Kevin Keegan. That summed him up. Well, and I went, but I was already on my way. When Kevin Keegan came to Southampton, I never played with him until I got the sack at Blackpool and I came back. Then I played with him for a year. But what I'm trying to say, the hype that was Kevin Keegan, and I wasn't used to that.
Everybody wanted Kevin Keegan, didn't they? The press, the supporters.
Yeah.
I mean, Bestie had made a cock up of everything, and all the sponsorships, and
I think that's what they were looking for.
Probably
yeah.
everybody wanted it, and it was a big thing, I mean, like I say, as far as I was concerned, he was a great player to play with, and he was a good player. But I mean, I feel I've played with a lot of other great players, including Bawley and Ozzy and people like that. I've played with so perhaps we become a little bit complacent that that you've played with so many good players in your career, especially with England and what have you. I mean, I'm just talking about at local club level. So it was great to have a good player back, but it was no big deal to us.
People were surprised that he wanted to come back, maybe, but particularly surprised that he wanted to go to Southampton. Arsenal, yes. Manchester United, yes.
I'll give the Gaffer plenty of praise. If you have 5 minutes with Laurie McMenemy, you'll sign for him, because he was great. I mean, he was a football fan, and he loved you as a player. And when I signed for him, he locked the door. He said, "You're not getting out of here, Bonnie lad, until you sign." He was that type of person. And I know that when he approached Kevin, if he had 5 minutes with Kevin Keegan, he would have got him for Southampton. Never mind Arsenal, Man United. That's how good Laurie McMenemy was. That was Laurie McMenemy's strength. And I can understand Kevin coming for him rather than Southampton or anything. He would come for the person at that particular time, and I'm convinced of that.
Right, well, let's see Kevin in a Southampton shirt then. It's Saints against Manchester United in December 1981.
So Southampton's free kick, Alan Ball floating it towards Keegan. Might well have been shoved in the back by McQueen there, it seemed, but the referee thought otherwise. But Southampton get a throw. Channon quickly for Keegan. Oh, my word! Keegan almost made something out of nothing there. It looked as though there was no possibility after he'd been challenged by McQueen, but he was right down by the byline, and a powerful shot that Roach had to turn away. So it's Channon with the corner. Keegan trying to get the header in, but Kevin Moran got the better of him. It's now with Nick Holmes. Again, the ball played forward and offside against Steve Williams. The run not quite properly timed, and a free kick to Manchester United. Stapleton's backward flick. Nicol, not a really tidy header, but Williams getting it away. Ball. McQueen. Nicol. Wilkins. Stapleton, a nice touch for Robson. Played wide here for Birtles. Now Remy Moses, who's got support from John Gidman. So Gidman. Wilkins. Moses with a header. Birtles, good possession here by Manchester United. And put to the defence as Stapleton puts them into the lead. Brilliant goal for Manchester United, works superbly with 10 or a dozen passes, and this is how it will finish off. Played in there by Gidman. Caught there superbly by Stapleton. Massive kick there by Katalinic. Keegan turning it on. Moran! 1-1! The most clinical finishing you'd possibly see. Suddenly it was 1 against 1 as he came to Paddy Roach. And what icy cool nerve the young man showed as the ball came through to him here. And there it went, 1-1. Steve Moran's 11th goal of the season. Laurie McMenamin his mind a little bit, that equaliser. Gidman then will take the throw. It's a good long throw as well. Birtles trying the back header. And I think the ball coming off, yes, off Nick Holmes, giving Manchester United the corner. So a corner for Manchester United. Once again, it's Wilkins with it. Good big jump by Moran. Channon only half getting it away. Moran still in there. Wilkins driving it. My word, and it was knocked away right at the end by Alan Ball, who just stood there. Almost got his head knocked off, but certainly saved a second Manchester United goal. As we wait for the corner, really rifled in there, and Ball just glancing it away for this corner here. Channon that one more conventionally away for Southampton. Talk about being in the right spot at the right time. That certainly applied to Alan Ball at that moment. Southampton's throw with Steve Moran. Now John Gidman, number 2. Straight to Alan Ball. And Moran is on his way again. Getting in behind them once more with all the pace in the world as he got the finishing as well. Keegan has! So Steve Moran, who scored the first, unquestionably with a big smile on his face, has now made the second. What a run. Looked as though he'd taken it too far. In the end, he got just the better of Moran, and Keegan was in there to finish it off. Williams, Channon. Williams, yet again. Keegan, brought down, free kick. United not happy with the decision. But Keegan felt the pain of Moran's challenge And right on half-time, Southampton get a free kick some 8 to 10 yards outside that Manchester United penalty area. Ball, and Keegan's all right again. 4 in the wall. And Keegan, off the top of the crossbar, a brilliantly executed free kick. A little two-touch and a curler by Keegan after his recovery. And a glance off the top of the crossbar. There's the first touch, there's the second touch, there's Keegan's curler just nicking off the top. Keegan again battling with Kevin Moran. Can't quite remember where the ball was though. Moses now playing it into space, deliberately handled there by Malcolm Waldron. That'll be a booking. And really, in fairness, it was one of those occasions when it had to be, because if he hadn't done that, there's no doubt at all that the ball would have gone on for Birtles. The ball would have fallen for Birtles. And so it's going to be a free kick for Manchester United. Brian Robson over it. McElroy and Wilkins just behind him. And the Southampton wall at the most about 5 yards off the ball at the moment, so they've got to go back. Wilkins floating it. McQueen looking to get the header in. And Robson! So Brian Robson gets his second goal for Manchester United, and the second for the club on the day, bringing it back to 2-2. And a question mark there against the Southampton defence. Once McQueen had got that header in, they stopped running and allowed Robson to get in there and make it 2-2. Birtles. If they can get a deep cross in, Robson may get to it, but Katalinic maybe made that look a little more spectacular than it needed to, but his handling again was excellent. And here's Armstrong. And here's Williams, played in for Channon. A little touch here for Ball. And the cross in once more. Armstrong was right there. Keegan is there. Oh, an amazing goal! Oh, an astonishing goal by Keegan. But I don't think it's going to be allowed. The linesman is there with his arms on his hips. Now, what could that be for? Now, we'll see what it might possibly have been. Certainly Keegan couldn't have been offside, but Armstrong may have been. Disallowed. A free kick for Manchester United, offside against David Armstrong. Well, it's tough. I don't think even Keegan would have scored a more spectacular goal than that. Goal in quotes, because it's been disallowed, and I think the pictures did tend to prove that Armstrong was standing in an offside position, and standing as he was in the centre of the penalty area, he must have been interfering with play. Disappointing for Southampton and for Keegan, but I'm bound to say I think the linesman and the referee were right. Moran, Wilkins, Nicol, Ball, Keegan's off again, taking on McQueen this time. A little dummy, found a yard of space. Channon looking to be able to turn, and United are denying him. Channon almost got the turn in. Armstrong going in all the way. Armstrong! Off the bench is the manager, and I should think he's delighted, but at the same time wants now everybody to get back and to concentrate.
it looked as though he almost made a shooting place for himself there, then saw that Armstrong was coming up, and Armstrong steamed all the way through, past Roach, and that puts it 3-2.
A great match, full of terrific football. What are your memories of that one, Mick?
I remember Kevin Keegan's overhead goal that was disallowed. That's the, you know,
That's
first
the one
thing.
memory, isn't
When you said that we were going to do it, before we looked at the video, I said, when you said that game, that's probably the greatest goal I've ever seen him score, and probably the greatest goal I've ever seen anyone score. And to be disallowed, I think they gave me offside in the end, didn't they?
Mm.
Sorry, Kev.
The first goal we got typified Kevin Keegan. It was a ball down the middle, he's jumped, fought the lad, just knocked it off the top of his head, it's dropped to Little Moran, he's beat two people, fantastic. That to me was great ability, what Little Moran did before he stuck it away. Right, but to get the ball to Moran was typical Kevin Keegan, a nuisance, a pest. The ball came in there and he just knocked it on, he was prepared to go and work for that ball. The actual ability, great ability, Little Moran did.
Mick, would you say that was the best Southampton side that you ever played in at that time?
Yeah, I think it was for entertainment. I mean, if people come to the Dell in those days and they didn't see 3 goals, they'd have been upset. And I think that for entertainment, and we had a chance at the championship that year.
Running out at the Dell in those days, the people, when you run out, I mean, crowds cheer for you, this, that, when you go out, but they knew you could play. They knew there was something going to happen. And that typifies Kevin Keegan. There was a buzz about the place when he was around. And that typified us, and we were a right good side at that time. That was the closest a Southampton side have ever been of winning the First Division.
Well, after the break, we'll look back on Kevin Keegan's last major move, the one that made him a Geordie folk hero. See you in a couple of minutes.
Because we've spent the time creating a tantalising prawn curry, you'll have the opportunity to do a bit of cleaning up. Menu Master, a taste of freedom.
Now, let's see how good your powder really is.
On muck like this, my old powder had its work cut out. It did pretty well, considering. Then I discovered Ariel Ultra. Who'd think something this simple would make such a difference?
Look, with socks this filthy, this is sometimes what the best traditional powder can do, but Ariel Ultra gives you visibly better cleaning.
And with my look, could I settle for anything less?
Ariel Ultra, visibly better cleaning.
Call 0898 40 40 40. It's fun on the line 24 hours a day. Remember the number 0898 40 40 40.
Chocolate. Oh yeah. Caramel. Mmm. Crunch. Twix Fits.
Yes, after a sparkling spell at Southampton, Kevin Keegan, of course, was lured north to the other end of the country. The challenge was to boost the fortunes of a Newcastle side that were adrift in the second division. Were you surprised when he left the Dell? Did you know that he wanted to go?
No, I wasn't, because that's Kevin Keegan. At that particular time, he was one top player in this country. Whereas before, there was loads of them. In his era, he was one of a very few.
Mick said he'll tell us why. Why did he leave?
The writing was on the wall. He had a row with Laurie in the dressing room. And Bowley probably remember it. And it was really something in nothing. But from then on, it was never the same, Bowley. You know, I mean, it happened. We got beat at home. It was an Easter time late on in the year, and we couldn't win anything. And Kevin was captain in that, you know, and more or less, Laurie's come in and he was obviously frustrated. Things hadn't gone right. And for me, Laurie said something to Kevin, which was totally, you know, he more or less inferred that he didn't try.
That's exactly right.
Huh? But he didn't really, because he was captain, I just think that he meant that you know, we didn't really, we played diabolical. I mean, end of story. Everyone's that, but Kevin thought it was a personal slur at him, and I think the outsiders saw it different, you know. And from that moment on, that was the end. You know, there was no forgiving, and I don't think that they ever saw light of day from then on. And from then on, it was only a matter of time when Kevin left.
I can remember that. Laurie chose his words wrong. I've done it myself as a manager, and in a team performance, Laurie said we didn't try this, and Kevin thought that he meant it at him, and being the person he was, Kevin always tried.
Because I always remember Kevin standing up and he says, "You never accuse me of not trying." He says, "I can play bad, but never." And I think that Kevin was right there. But what I'm saying is, I don't feel Laurie aimed it at him personally, and I feel that Kevin should have been man enough to be able to see it. Although we sat round, probably saw it, were able to accept it far better than them two. They felt it was a personal thing.
Yeah.
And from then on,
Laurie didn't choose his words right that day. And Kevin was that big because people had put him on a pedestal. He was that big that he just went, and he went to Newcastle, and you see what happened. I mean, there was hysteria.
Was it a goodbye by Arthur Cox?
Brilliant, because the lad, he just created atmosphere, he created interest at that particular time in football. He was a folk hero.
But then again, you're forgetting, I went up there as well. I went and played for Newcastle, you know, just after Keegan went there. And the first year, they were an ordinary side. I mean, he had some pretty ordinary players. And it wasn't until the second year when they bought Beardsley and, you know, a few other players, they tightened up the midfield. There was a little lad who used to play for Man United in the middle of the park.
McCreary.
Yeah. You know, that they really got it together in the second year. But his first year at Newcastle, although personally he done very well. I mean, and when I went up there, I mean, you wouldn't believe the things they'd... I mean, he was never in. They were shipping him here from... He had stars on his chest, and, you know, what was this brewery thing, was it? You know, Newcastle Brown Ale, and he was never in. Because I stayed with him for 6 weeks in the hotel. When they were limousines were arriving to take him out to things. I mean, he was a real megastar, and from then on, they loved him.
So let's recall Kevin Keegan's first appearance at St James's Park, Newcastle. It's the opening day of the season, August 1982. The opponents in front of 36,185 are Queen's Park Rangers.
Past frustrations and future hopes of Newcastle's success-starved fans are all wrapped up in that delirious welcome for Kevin Keegan. Because without a single ball of the new season being kicked, suddenly at St James's Park, they believe the glory days could well be back again. Such has been the impact of Kevin Keegan on Tyneside in the 10 days since he signed that single-handed he's transformed a middle-of-the-table second division club into the focal point of the opening day of the new season. And with more than £100,000 taken in extra season ticket sales, the club has already recovered its transfer fee. Keegan setting up Waddle. Berardi. And he was onside. And I don't think even Berardi knew it. Waddock. Cartwright. 15 minutes gone in the second half, and still we await the first goal of the 82-83 season here at St James's Park. And the crowd beginning to respond again to try and lift Newcastle. Gary Waddock getting the tackle in. Craggs forward. Keegan's flick. Berardi. Keegan again. Chance here for Keegan. He's done it. Kevin Keegan scores, and St James's Park goes absolutely wild. 15 minutes gone, and Kevin Keegan celebrates his debut with the goal. The whole of Tyneside has been praying for. Waddle trying to get around the two defenders there. And he has at least won a free kick for his pains. Keegan going through, but again Hucker slipped off his line. There goes the final whistle, and Kevin Keegan's signing always had something of the make-believe world about it, and it's had the fairy tale ending. Keegan scoring the only goal of the game. League 1-2, he worked with Varane and slotted home the chance. He's mobbed by the fans, and he's responded in the way that Newcastle fans who turned up in their thousands today had hoped, by scoring. The celebrations continue then on the pitch at the end of a quite remarkable day at St James's Park. The final scoreline reading Newcastle United 1, Queen's Park Rangers 0, and Kevin Keegan the man who got it.
Fairy tale, wasn't it? I mean, his first game, clean through,
We were
1-0.
Southampton. We were playing at Southampton, and the results come through. Newcastle won. Like they won 1-0, and we said Keegan. He went yes. We said that's him. Like fairy tale, like, you know, Roy of the Rovers.
It's like Ian Botham, when he came back after his suspension, first ball in a test match, snick and caught first slip. I mean, and everyone's going, oh, and Keegan's gone to Newcastle. They're struggling a bit. 1-0. Who scored the goal? Kevin Keegan. He's back, isn't he?
He had that particular thing about him, because his passion for the game of football was his greatest attribute, and people followed that, especially at Newcastle. And I'll never forget, that was an experience for me to see blind faith in supporters, and it was Kevin Keegan. They came for Kevin Keegan, not Newcastle.
So, Mick, how would you assess Kevin's career as an England player? Not a club player, but at England level.
Well, I think he was very successful as an England player. For the obvious reason, I think there's only probably 5 players scored more goals than him. But probably a bit like myself. After, Bawley played in the 66 team that won the World Cup, I think the 70 team was probably as good. I don't know what Bawley thinks. Then after that, I played in all the prelims, the Poland game, going up to the next World Cup. And I thought that was a very good team. I thought that we could have done very well then. But after that, then I think that international soccer, I don't think it was at the level that it had probably been at the 10 years previous, and certainly when Bawley won the World Cup. So it's very hard to assess. But I mean, I think he was obviously a very successful international. Whether he was a great whether you can compare him as great is very, very difficult to say. Not like the lads you can say they were in a great era of the 66 lads,
Certainly sad, isn't it, Alan, that a career like his should end in some sort of acrimony, and he also had an injury problem with a back, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the way it happened for him at the end, he's a very proud lad, and he must have been very disappointed in the actual way it was done. And he vowed, and I've spoken to him lots of times about it, he's vowed then that he would never play for his country again because of the way Bobby Robson treated him over a particular issue of telling him that he wasn't going to be picked for his country again. And that typified Kevin as a person, because his love for his country, his love for football, he couldn't handle the fact that Bobby Robson treated him the way he did after what he'd given, the service he'd given, and what he's like, and it broke his heart.
As a person, I mean, like, I tell you what, there's nothing like it when you're not picked for. I mean, the only way I found out, I wasn't picked, and that's that. To me, I was disappointed, obviously, because I always felt I was lucky. I'd played nearly 50 times for my country, and I loved every minute of it, But really, Kevin was so involved. He thought that Bobby should have rung him and said, give him a reason why he was, and it doesn't happen. I don't know if it happened with Bawley, and it certainly never happened with anyone else I know. Normally, you just kicked out and that's it. But Kevin just, And he never forgived him for that, and vowed he'd never play for England. And Robson was wrong. He was wrong in the sense that, you know, if he knew the lad, if he had any sort of feeling for people, and I think footballers have become a little bit softer over the years. Before, you know, we used to take things, you know, as they go. But now you've got to understand the people that you're living with more.
We can't let this programme go without mentioning the song, because he actually recorded a song, didn't he, which was not all that popular. In fact, I think he had a couple of singles. What was his teammates' view of his singing ability?
He needed me as backing.
I didn't think it was too bad.
But that typifies Kevin. I mean,
he had a crack at everything.
It typified him, you know. He tried to tell people England was his home. He loved his country.
With you in England, is it still the same? In England, I've been away so long, away so long. Are you still waiting there for me, my love? I'll soon be home again.
I know he didn't think much of the record, but I thought it wasn't bad. I mean, but that also, looking at the fella, that sums him up. He'll have a crack at anything. He's not frightened to have a go at anything. He said he wants to ride in the Grand National, you know. And it wouldn't surprise me if he'd have a go or something. I mean, he's that competitiveness. Superstars. He'd fall off a bike and cut himself, but he wanted to win. His fierce competitiveness, you know, has driven him through his life.
Both of you maybe sum up for me then his qualities. How does he deserve to be remembered as a player?
Working class, ordinary English lad, gone and played for his country and done great.
And Mick?
A great example to anyone. A lad that's made himself great.
Yes, a great tribute. And that's it for our first programme in this series then. We hope you've enjoyed looking back at one of the country's favourite footballers with two of his old teammates. There's certainly plenty more where that came from. Great players, great goals, and a few great stories from Mick and Alan. Join us again next week, won't you? Until then, from the three of us, it's goodbye.